Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shino's Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel while I get my life together. No, this isn't my normal setup with my great camera and my background all nice and put together. Technical difficulties have taken your girl down, okay? Have taken your girl down. And a couple of hours ago, when I did the show with Laura Kirk-Francis, which is now available on Patreon, everything was working perfectly. The camera, the lights, everything, the internet, everything was going so perfectly. And then I take a nap, wake up, try to start my camera, and it's like, actually, no, I don't like you at all. So this is the setup that we have today. We're going to have to deal with it, but we have a lot to talk about. So make sure you guys are getting in the chat and letting me know how you guys are feeling. There's already tons of you guys in here, which is amazing. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Like I just mentioned, me and Laura Kirk-Francis did a post-match podcast for Bournemouth. We also talked a little bit about Lons. We talked about the statistics that have come out regarding Raya versus Ramsdale, which are really interesting. Saka and why he's the best attacker in the Premier League, and on and on and on and on and on. We did the show was, when I say jokes, we were laughing so hard. Then we did the rewatch for the first half, and I'll be honest with you guys, we talked about the game, but we also just kind of talked, and it's one of the best shows I've ever done because it's just two people sitting back, kicking back, and talking about Arsenal. So if you want to become a patron, the link is in the description so you can have access to that post-match podcast as well as that rewatch. But if you can't do it, no worries. There'll be free content on this channel always for you guys. And looking forward to launch, there will be a watch along as well as player ratings immediately following the game. So again, like the video, subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a thing. Let's see what you guys are saying. Harold Graham is saying hello, Jess. Hello to you as well. Demetrio says, big up Jess with the consistency. Thank you so much. Like, I'm just trying to do a little bit more, because I've been through my really consistent phases and then not so consistent. And I'm just trying to get back on it for you guys because this makes me feel good. Talking to you guys about Arsenal is like the highlight of my day. It's like therapy. So thank you. Like, you guys help me like more than anything. So yeah, I love being more consistent because I get more time with you guys. Omar says, big up, Jess. Big up to you as well. I'll give this account. Wait, I'll name this account later. Says, evening, Jess. Good evening to you as well. It says, big up, Jess. Big up to you as well. Chosen One says, hey, what's up, Jess? Excited for launch tomorrow. I am excited. We will talk about why Arsenal cannot take this game easily or lightly or anything. We still need to go on with a pretty strong lineup. Don One says, come on, you Gunners. TF Payne says, hello, Jess. Hope you're doing well. And big up to all the way from Jamaica. Big up to you as well. Hugo says, morning, Jess. Heard Liverpool are suing all of UK. There needs to be some consequences for making the types of mistake that they made with VAR the other day for Spurs Liverpool. I think an apology is very, the apologies are coming thick and fast. Like, there's so many of them that have come out since VAR has been in usage, and I just feel as though like a sorry is never enough. A sorry is never enough because, like Klopp said, it's very expensive. Like, it's very expensive in terms of like people's jobs. This could be the difference between making top four or not, maybe winning the league or not. And so a sorry is not good enough when it was a very avoidable circumstance where you can see subjective calls like fouls or not, yellows or not, reds or not. Offside is pretty much all we get in terms of objective calls in football. And also the ball going over the line. That is as cut and dry, black and white as it can get. And not only did they know that it was onside, but the VAR, inside the booth did not stop the referee from continuing to call it offside, even though he knew that it was onside. And just the lack of like, hey, we're getting this wrong is so weird to me. Like, I actually don't understand why nobody just got up there and said, you know what, you're getting this wrong. Like, how long would it have taken to get in Simon Hooper's ear and saying it's onside, you're getting this wrong. I know that they said check complete in the stadium, but it's more costly, I think, not to go back and make sure that you got that correctly than just letting the game play out, knowing that you're going to have to give out the apology and it changes the complexion of that match. Liverpool would feel very aggrieved by, of course, like people will not to kick the ball in the back of his own net. you never know how the game would have panned out if that goal would have stood. And Liverpool were very much so in the game with 10 men. They probably could have still won it. So so annoying. So annoying. But we've been on the end of that. And an apology is just never good enough. It's never good enough. Oyvind says season have just started. I'm already mentally exhausted. Welcome to the Arsenal. I mean, that is the name of the game. That is the job, is to be mentally exhausted from minute one. From preseason, you are exhausted. From the summer transfer window, you are exhausted. That is the job, my friend. And being an Arsenal fan is not easy. Hugo says, but us Arsenal fans in a title race, we're told to move on. Carol says, VAR is not the problem. It's the communication, these English refs. It's not the technology. They're not using the technology properly. And it's just like how they can watch a train, or like a train just hit a wall like that and like not do anything about it in real time is very inexcusable. Like it's very it's strange. Like I didn't get it. TF Payne says the whole PGMOL body should be sacked. We should get new referees from abroad. The ones in England are all rubbish. Maybe Michael Oliver and Anthony Taylor will we win when he refs as well. Anthony Taylor always gives us a pen, so I have a soft spot in my heart for the way that he refereed our FA Cup final. That's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, like, and then the referees going off to like Dubai or whatever to, referee right after they make huge mistakes. And even like, I thought it went a little bit under the radar because it's not two bigger teams, but Brentford versus Nottingham Forest, I do think Brentford were done dirty. I think that Wissa was fouled by Matt Turner. And for me, that's a clear penalty for Brentford that just did not get even looked at. That is so strange. Like VAR is really bad. Like, and it's not, again, it's not the technology, it's the people using it. And they get some things right and they get some things horrifically wrong. And it's just embarrassing. And an untold legend says, I was told a few years ago when they were introducing VAR that it would be used to do more match rigging. Just look at our American sports. Fair enough. Don One says the media told Arsenal to stop crying when it happened to us last year, but when it happens to Liverpool, you see all the Liverpool love him. It's true. Like I know that stop crying. You didn't even play well on the day. But the thing is like even if we didn't play well, we didn't deserve to lose that game if it wasn't a real goal. It should have been called offside. So I don't think it matters. Like you could have been playing the worst game of your life. You still deserve to have the refereeing decisions go the way that they're supposed to, by the book, by the law, all that kind of stuff. And so people use any type of excuse to make it seem like you're just complaining about the refs. But when it comes to offside, that is as black and white and clear cut as it can get. And that needs to be gone correct. And I don't care if it's a millimeter small, like it was for Garnacho, because at some point that will go against us and we'll be marginally offside and we'll complain about it. But the reality is it's black and white. And for it not to be called back, that goal to be called onside for me is just like, if I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm still up at night thinking about it because it's just as stupid as it can get. Like, how can you be so dumb? There's 100 of you guys in here. You're probably like, what the hell are we talking about? We're talking about PGMOL. You guys know at the beginning of the show, I just kind of like chit chat with you guys and then we get into the nitty gritty once everybody gets here. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel and contribute to the conversation around VAR, whether you like it or not. I actually think if used correctly, it could be so good for the game. Actually, I think they get a lot right. But when they get it wrong, they get it horrifically wrong. And a lot of times it is so avoidable. And so, yeah, it's disappointing to see what happened. But, to each his own. Like some people really, really hate it. I don't hate it. I just, when moments like this happen, I'm just like, how? Like it actually makes no sense. Yo-Yo says, can't care any less about Liverpool. This has been going on for years. I remember Sheffield United being effed over during the Project Restart. Yeah, I hear you. And to me, it's not about what team it happens to. It's just about the consistency and like the it's just continuous and it happens a lot. So yeah. But I want to go ahead and jump into some Arsenal news. Partey is back. He returns from a groin injury that was sustained early on in the season, and Saka as well. So we didn't know whether or not Saka was going to be injured or not. Um, so here's the video from Haters, I think it is, and as you can see, there's Thomas Partey and there's Bukayo Saka. They both both took part in full training today. The only players that are not available at this stage are Martinelli, which I think makes a lot of sense. Like, he was not called up for the Brazilian national team squad that are going to be, like, playing during this next international break after this game. So after Manchester City, I think. So um, I think it was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to, he wasn't going to be back in time. And Timber, who are still hoping makes a miraculous recovery. There's some sort of potion that, some warlock can give him, over the next couple of weeks, and he'll miraculously be available in January. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I would not mind it. But other than those two, everybody else is back into the fold. Vieira, Trossard, Partey, Saka, everybody, Jesus, everybody is there. And so Arsenal look a lot stronger than we did maybe a couple of days ago. And I'm happy about it because, I think we were a little bit worried about these next 2 games coming up, Lons, and we made it through Bournemouth, but I mean, to be honest, we should be making it through Bournemouth because we had Rice, we had Saka, we had Saliba. So now these next 2 games I think it's about getting the balance right between, going strong enough against Lons, but also keeping an eye on the weekend. And again, this is the challenge for Arteta this season: is how does he manage all these competitions? How does he make sure that, Arsenal are, making sure that players are being rotated properly, getting the proper amount of rest. We're going strong enough, but maybe not too strong. And I think even against Bournemouth, we went incredibly strong against Bournemouth, in my opinion. But I think we could have taken players off a lot sooner. Sometimes it is a good thing to go ahead and win the game and then take players off, kind of like we did against PSV. But we left players on a little bit longer than I feel like I would have liked. And so this is the challenge for Mikel Arteta going into our first away Champions League match. For me personally, I just don't think we should go as soft or as light as some people are saying we should. I get that Lons are not a great team. I get that they're somewhere near the bottom of League One. I get that we're a superior side, but I do think we have to respect the competition. Remember that we don't have that much experience in it. Go a little bit stronger than we probably would want to win the game, take players off, then rest for the weekend. Take care of the match that's in front of you. Don't just, I think the weaker that we are, the more likely we are to have to bring on starters at the end, kind of like how we did against Brentford. If we go that light against Lons, I think we'll be in trouble. I do think we need to stick some of our starters in there, but Partey being back is a significant boost for Arsenal. I think we were looking a little light in midfield. I think, the way things that happened with Jorginho against Spurs, I think a lot of people are like, oh, if that was Partey, we would have been in such a better position. I agree with that. I do think we would have been in a better position because I don't know if Partey makes that mistake or not, but we lost the midfield battle the moment that Rice went off the pitch. The moment he went off the pitch, we lost the midfield battle. Sarr and Basuma became a lot more prominent in that match. They started really bopping it around, and we just could not get a handle on the game. From that moment on, we were just kind of like riding our luck. And so Partey being back in the fold, super important, especially with Manchester City on the horizon. And we have the opportunity to dominate the midfield battle against Manchester City for the first time in ever. Not saying that Kalvin Phillips and Kovacic and these guys are bums, but with no Rodri and no Kevin De Bruyne, we should be feeling really confident. And so I know a lot of people are looking forward to potentially Partey playing against Manchester City. We know Thomas Partey better than anybody. Like, over the last 3 seasons, we've seen what type of player he is. If he's going to play against Manchester City, that man has got to get some sort of minutes against Lons. He has to. Coming in completely cold for Thomas Partey is setting him up for failure. I don't know what happens when he's off from injury. The man is just it's like he's chilling in a freezer and then he needs to warm up again. He's not somebody that could just go off and then come straight back on. He's not the youngest either. So I think if Arteta is thinking about playing something a little bit different like Partey and Rice in midfield, which a lot of people want to see. He needs to get some minutes against Lens, which I would not be opposed to. Maybe not start the game, but start with somebody like Jorginho, and then after we pretty much won the game, or maybe even like 60th minute, bring Thomas Partey on for the last couple of minutes, because um, he literally needs to play some minutes. Like, he cannot just come out like after being out for so long. Thomas Partey can be off for like 3 days and that's it, you know? So, and he just needs some more time. So yeah, I think this is a big deal for Arsenal. Um going into a difficult match against Manchester City at home. It's a really big opportunity, and getting some of our players back. I would love, 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 love for, you know, Martinelli to be available, but he is not. So, um, I've said it a couple of times. I've said it a couple of times that like Martinelli is not set to go with Brazil. I think that's enough of a indication that he won't be back before the international break. So for people that are like, what about Martinelli? He's not going to be available. They're not giving a time scale, but is most likely going to be after the international break that he comes back, which makes the left wing position interesting, because I'm not feeling Jesus off of the left wing. I think we got away with it against Bournemouth, but like I would love to see just like something different in the next 2 games, but I feel like we will kind of go with more of the same. And so you guys can give your thoughts on that. I think there's also, some information around Timber. I don't know how reliable this is. This is like a Saudi Arabian, so I'm going to take this with a whole, not even a grain of salt, with a spoonful of salt, that Urian Timber is recovering well and is expected to be back between February and March. You guys, I love Timber. I just do. I want him back so badly. But also I want to give him the necessary time to recover and not put any pressure on it. I have completely written him off for the entire season because I don't want to get my hopes up. But they're mentioning him like somebody that could potentially come back. And Arsenal did not go into the transfer window and replace him, which may mean that he is going to come back sooner rather than later. So yeah, love it. Love it. Love that guys are coming back. Love that we're looking a lot more strong. Where a couple of days ago it was crisis. Now we're like, oh, okay, we're looking kind of good. Let's see. I'll name this account later. Says take that story with a whole pack of Lowrys. Okay, like let's not start. Okay, like February 1st, he's gonna be back. But let's hope for the best, but also prepare for the worst. Like, I don't think anybody should be expecting on February 1st to see Timber running around on the pitch. Like, you know what I mean? Let's hold our horses, but hopefully, let's I'm open to it. I'm open to that happening because I love Timber so much. I rewatched the Community Shield again. Like, I know it's so pathetic. Like, why are you still watching the Community Shield? But I just love the lineup that we put out. I thought it was so good. Even without Zinchenko and Jesus, I thought we looked really kind of good. And Timber was a part of it. So it made me happy. Arsenal Adventure says February, March is a decent time, actually. He can play a sub role to the end of season. John P says, I would prefer Kai up front rather than Eddie if we were going for Rice and Partey in midfield if he insists on playing Jesus on the wing. Chosen One says, Jess, I'm cool with Saka playing these next 2 games. Just hope he doesn't go on international duty. He should take those 2 weeks off. If you think Saka is going to take international duty off, like, I don't know. I just feel like he is so committed to England, which, you have a short international career, so be committed to it if you really want to be. And he is the starting right wing. Like, he's that guy right now. So I think he's still going to go. That's why I'm looking at Lens as an opportunity maybe to play him and get him off, win the game and get him off, if that makes sense. Um, let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Jay says against City, the biggest position selection will be whether Zinchenko plays. If he does, they will target the left side with Doku. If we play Tommy, I think we control the back end. You guys know I'm always down for a Tomiyasu day. Always down for a Tommy day. That is, I feel like, the biggest tool that we have in terms of like being able to change the conversation around like how we win a game, because I don't give a shit how it looks, how we play against Manchester City. I don't care if we have 20% possession. I actually think the less possession we have against Manchester City, the best. Like the better. The last season when we played them at home, they had like 30% possession and won 3-1. It was like a quintessential Arsenal smash and grab, like how we played against Brighton, away from home. It was, we're going to let you guys have the ball, let you guys make a mistake, pick it off, and be clinical. And so the less that we have the ball, I actually think the better. And so for me, it's about stopping them and stopping the things that, will hurt us. And for me, that's having your big, strong center backs there to stop Holland in Saliba and Gabriel. And whoever is going to be marking Doku needs to be able to be good 1v1. Now, the problem that we have is that neither Zinchenko or Ben White are particularly great in wide areas against the trickier wingers. So you kind of have to play a little bit of chess here. Do you go with White not in the team because Doku has been playing primarily off of like the left-hand side, but Pep is smart. So if he thinks that Arteta is going to keep White on, like he might just stick Doku on the right. Right, he can play on the right. So, but how do we build up without Zinchenko? All these types of things. There's all these questions, but I would like Tomiyasu is in my Manchester City backline. He is. He's in it. Against Manchester City. I don't care if at home we have 20% possession. I don't want to be giving up easy goals. I don't want Doku to be running over us. I really want to shut the back door and I kind of want to hit them on the counter. Like I want to lull them into a false sense of security. Like that's kind of the vibe I'd be going for. John P says, question, what's your back four against City? We'll obviously get in more into this as we get more towards the weekend. But right now, it's probably Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Tommy. But I'm also thinking if Doku's going to be on that other side, maybe Ben doesn't play, So Tommy's in it. Saliba's in it. Gabriel's in it. And I'm still undecided about the other fullback that will be included. So, yeah. Now, Partey, Saka back. So we're good to go there. Lens is going to be one of those types of games where, like Yo-Yo is saying, is it a trap game? Any game that is seen as a game like that we are going to easily win, that comes before, especially midweek, comes before a big game at the weekend is a trap game. Period. Because you start looking towards the weekend and start making changes based on what you want to happen on the weekend, and then you make mistakes in midweek. So, and it's away from home. We are better away from home, but this is Europe. And I've seen us go away from home in the Europa League and look like we've never kicked a ball before. So I'm very reluctant. Like we're really good away from home in the Premier League. I think the Champions League is a whole different thing. Lens and Sevilla drew in their first game, for the Champions League. So I think I kind of feel like this is going to be the kind of game where we're going to be expected to kind of like run them over. We're going to be expected to be like very dominant. And so we just have to be professional and take care of business. I think how we choose the lineup, especially at the back, is going to be the most important. I think if we can shut the door at the back, then we can figure out things in the front. I think if we start off with a weak defense, which we don't have that many weak defenders, but I think we want to go a little bit strong at the back and then make more changes going forward. So for me, um, what I'm looking for is, Saka to start, uh, Jesus probably to start, Trossard to start. So the same starting front line that we had against PSV, Odegaard, and probably going with Vieira because, he hasn't had minutes since Spurs, so I'd like to see Vieira playing in this game. Jorginho behind them. I know it's like, why Jorginho? Why not go strong with Rice? Rice, we cannot risk him before the weekends. And if I'm like, we went strong up top, like going strong up top for me is like, okay, like we're probably fine in every other position. We're pretty strong. We could probably rotate at DM and then allow Jorginho and Thomas Partey to take care of that for Rice so that Rice can be fresh for the weekend because he is carrying a little bit of a knock. I think we have to be careful with him because if he goes down, we're going down. I think I'm very stressed out about Rice and whatever this back injury is. At the back, Tommy, Gabriel, Saliba, probably White, something like that. Rest Zinchenko and let Ramsdale come back in. That's probably what I'd go with. Kill them early, and then take Saka off as soon as possible. Um, take Ben White off if you have to, like take off players that have had a lot of minutes. So, but I think a combination of Jorginho and Thomas Partey can take care of this game for Rice, who played the entire game, almost the entire game against Bournemouth, and is going to need to be at his tip-top best against Manchester City. I think he is a big key for whether or not we win that game. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. John P says 45 minutes for Jorginho, 45 minutes for Partey, keep Rice fresh. That's where I am. Like, that's where I am. Be as fret like, you know, make sure that, you're keeping an eye on some players that may have some knocks and stuff like that. Like, and I know people might want to see like maybe no Saliba and no Gabriel, but the reality for me is that I'm just trying to be as strong as I can at the back. Make sure that they can't score, and then we do the business up front. So yeah, Martin N says need a rest for Rice and Saka for the City game. You could, not play Saka, but for me, it's the way that when we attack without Saka and without our better attackers, it tends to take us a little bit longer to score goals. And for me, I don't want to get into the 70th minute and be bringing on Saka and bringing on Odegaard and bringing on these guys because we haven't taken care of business. So I want to avoid Brentford, essentially. I want to avoid Brentford. Um, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I would prefer for Saka to just start the game, Odegaard to start the game, Saliba to start the game, you know? But I hear what you're saying. I think the rest comes once we're up, and the only way we're gonna be up is if we have some of our better attackers out there. We can rest Rice, we can rest Zinchenko, but, you know, there still needs to be somebody up like, when Saka's not up there, we do look very different. That's basically what I'm saying. Don One says 3-0 up at halftime, bring on the subs. Respect the competition. Respect the competition. I think this is such an uncharted territory for this group of players. And I just don't want to go into it with some like arrogant kids out there. I don't think it's right. I think we need to go out there pretty strong, as strong as possible. Waylon says, do you think Arteta will put Partey back up at right back on the weekend as he always overthinks when it comes to Man City? If he does that, slap him. Slap him. There's no reason to do it. There's no reason to do it. If you want Partey to play, you suck it up and you put him in midfield and you drop Havertz. Do the big boy thing. Do the big boy thing. Choose between Rice or Partey, or choose both of them, but they both go in midfield and send Havertz to the bench, or play Havertz at center forward. Like, that is like, idealistically at the weekend, you play Havertz at center forward, you play Jesus off of the left, and you play both of Partey and Rice in midfield. That's what you do. You kind of go back to the Community Shield lineup, right? With Zinchenko coming in for Timber and Jesus playing for Martinelli. That's what you do. But playing Partey at right back is suicide. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. There's no reason to do it whatsoever. We tried it. It stunk. We're beyond that now. No reason to do it. But give him some minutes in midfield. So he's ready. So he is ready. See, Walter says Partey and Rice, please. So yeah, obviously we're going to have tons of time to talk about Manchester City and like do a proper preview and all that kind of stuff. And Lons, before the game, we'll react to the lineup and give our predictions and stuff like that. But I just want to put it out there that I do think that we need to go just like a little bit stronger than we probably would want to, just to ensure that we win the game, we put it away, and then we can rest after, rather than trying to chase the game or be stressed out when it's 0-0 at the 70th minute and having to bring on starters. I think that's a way worse plan, and it never works out for us. So yeah. But if you guys want, Hugo is asking for like a straight up lineup, so we can do that as well. We still have some time. And I also want to talk about some transfer news. So if you guys are here, like you're talking, what about the transfer news? We're gonna get to it. I promise. Like, don't worry. I got you. I got you. You guys know. When it comes to transfer news, I will entertain any little bit. Any little bit. So here we go. Again, this is on the Fresh Arsenal website. I think they have their own podcast, but Cool little website thing you can build your lineup on. I love it. The icons are cute. You know the vibes. Um, Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm burnt. Like, I'm not starting Ramsdale in this game. I said Ramsdale, but I'm actually going with Raya. Ramsdale can start in the Carabao Cup. Um, yeah, that's enough said. He can start in the Carabao Cup. Um, let's go with White, who plays every game, no rest. Guy's shot. He's shot, but it is what it is. It is what it is, isn't it? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Tommy, get you some minutes. And go with our strong center back pairing. This is just what happens. Like, in the Champions League, you play a stronger 11 than you would in like domestic cups. I think watching Manchester City against Red Star Belgrade put out the strong lineup that they did. Even Barcelona put out a pretty strong lineup against who knows who that team was that they played against the other day. I don't feel as like, oh, why are we doing this? We're too strong. I think the template is out there. You want to have some light rotation, but you want to take it serious because you can't get bopped. You can't get bopped, and we don't need to be doing that. So, like I said, Jorginho would start. Partey will come in. Some combination of the two to allow Rice to take a rest. Like I said, resting Zinchenko too, because he's just somebody that can only play 60 minutes. He's played quite a bit of minutes. And I have I still think he's gonna start him against Manchester City. I would not, but I still think he'll start him. So, what can you do? Um, excuse me. Odegaard, you start your captain in Europe. Hello. And I'm gonna go with Vieira because we haven't seen him since Spurs, and you know, you might want to see him before the Spurs game too to see what his vibe is. Or not Spurs, Manchester City, because maybe Arteta wants to go with what we've been doing, but this is what I would do for Europe. I think this is good enough. I know it's a little bit like, but you have strong enough defense back there to hold it up. Saka, um, Gabriel, Jesus, and Trossard. Yeah, this is probably what I'd go with. So it's a little bit weaker in midfield, but everything else is, pretty strong. And then with the eye that, once we're up, you can take Jesus off and bring in Kedia on. Once we're up, you can take Saka off and bring on Nelson. Once you're up, you can bring ESR on and take Odegaard off. That's kind of what I'm going with here. You can move Tomiyasu to right side of center back, take Saliba off, bring Kivior in. So we have options, but go strong because it's still Europe, and we need to be top of the group and not make it more difficult than it needs to be. Martin N says Reese plus Nels plus Eddie plus Sago Jr. up front. Hell no. Sylvain says Ramsdale will start, in my opinion. He trails Raya on very little details. I don't know how you looked at those stats, but when I saw the stats, I saw a big gap between the two. In terms of the things that really matter, passing accuracy, the amount of, Ramsdale only being involved for about 30 touches, Raya being involved for closer to 50 or 60, high claims, basically commanding your box. I thought the numbers were not as close as other people thought, so it's how you interpret statistics. I think there is a clear gap there. And in Europe, I think you want to go with your stronger goalkeeper, especially it's Champions League and it's not Europa. Jacob says Ramsdale will start tomorrow. Mbasa says, "Oh, this is actually live right now. Love it." Yes, it is live. We are live. It's a little bit later than usual, but it's later than usual because I did a show earlier and I needed to sleep. John P says, "I think Zinchenko is good enough to invert from right back. I would tell Tommy to follow Doku whichever flank. That will mess Pep up." Hey, I haven't done the follow that one player since I was playing back in the day. I used to be that player that they would tell just follow the main person around. Yeah. So, John P says I would give Kivior a game and rest White. Fair enough. Ghost says I'm worried Andy Joof will overrun our midfield if Jorginho starts. Not to say Jorginho is bad. I hear that. Keenan says, I would rest Saka. He came off limping at the weekend. So, yeah, you could start somebody else off of the right. This is what I would go with, you know. Um, but everybody has their own opinion. So fair enough. But we have to move on from this because obviously like the watch along for Lawrence will start an hour before the game. So we'll have plenty of time to actually look at the lineup that comes out, give our thoughts, give our predictions. So yeah. Um, so we don't have to go too deep into this, but this is kind of what I would do. There's 200 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I do want to touch on some light transfer news because why not? Why not? Why not? So, first, Arsenal are linked with Adrien Rabiot again. We're always linked with this guy. I don't know why. I don't know why. He's just, you know what it is, it always is? He's always kind of like in contract talks or trying to get a new deal or something. And I feel like we're always kind of used, to maybe get him a better deal or something. But he's been linked again, Adrian Rabiot. I like the profile. I don't like the player. I like a box to box guy. Like when we talk about like, oh, what profile are Arsenal missing in midfield? We're missing a Rabiot, somebody that has some physicality, that can get in the box and score. That's just a center midfielder. Like that's all he is. He's not really a DM. He's not really an attacking midfielder. He's just a number 8. And he's tall enough and strong enough to, hold his own. And he's a little bit versatile, but for the most part, like you just put him in your midfield and you just let him do his work. That is the profile that I feel like we are missing. Like I think we're trying to make Havertz maybe into that profile. It looks like, bruiser type, but he doesn't, he really is like feeling more like a forward, trying to mask as a midfielder at the moment. It could change, but Rabiot is somebody that I like the profile. I don't like the player. I don't like the drama, consistent drama around the player. I'm not loving the mom manager thing. And I don't see him in the Premier League. I don't really care about the age. I know he's like 28 or something like that. I don't think everybody in our team needs to be an infant, but there's just some things about Rabiot that for the player, I'm not a fan of. But I do like the profile and I think we're missing it. So, let's see. Keenan says, if Rabiot has such a shit attitude, keep him away from our club. Martin N says he is a United type of signing, not ours. Keith says we're missing Granite. Basically, I still feel like you need just a number 8, like just somebody that just plays center midfield. And we don't really have that. We only really have we don't have an 8 that can drop into the pivot unless it's Rice. And Rice is actually more of a 6. So we have 3 DMs and we have a ton of 10s, but no 8s. None that can drop into a double pivot. So I do think we're missing something like that. Maybe it's just because I'm missing Granite a little bit and what he offers, and maybe it's not something that we need, but I do feel like we are missing that just as an option, So Rabiot for me is not, I don't like the player, but I like the profile. I feel like there's other players across Europe that could fit that. I'm just not sure that that's what Arteta wants because he has bought quite a few midfielders and he has went for either a DM or a 10, nothing in between. It has to be by design. Don One says Rabiot's mom will challenge Arteta to a fight. Exactly. Johnny D says, is Granite at Leverkusen? If so, he's world class. Leverkusen is a top ahead of Bayern. I mean, Xabi Alonso, he's doing the business. Leverkusen look very good. And Granit Xhaka is a big part of that. But Granit, he did a interview the other day and said that the reason why he left is because he couldn't deal with the noise. And Arsenal is not an easy team to play for. He wants to go somewhere where there's a less pressure. And if he didn't like the pressure the seasons prior, he definitely would not have liked the pressure now because Arsenal are expected to challenge for the title. They're expected to go far in the Champions League. And this would have been kind of maybe, except for maybe his first season, not even the first season, this would have been the first time in his Arsenal career where we would have been expected to win the title and be good in the Champions League. So yeah, if he didn't like the noise before, he definitely wouldn't have liked the noise this time. So the Xhaka Rabiot profile, but not necessarily either one of those players. Obi says he can do a job, but his off-field dramatics are a worry. Mafia says, I think Havertz will come better than Xhaka. Let's be a bit patient. Arsenal Adventure says, if we go for a left center mid, we need to go hard for Frankie or Kimmich, as Kimmich looks really unhappy at Bayern. I would love for us to go big in that position. I just feel like we've gone big in midfield this past window. And I think a lot of the feeling like we need to go back into the market is because we're not quite seeing it with Havertz yet, or I'm not seeing it. I'm projecting. I'm not seeing it. So I'm feeling like I want to maybe go back into the market and go after somebody. Frankie de Jong would be really good, but I think he's quite settled at Barca, and whether they play him or not, I think he's pretty like okay with being there. And he's in Xavi's plans. Like Xavi does really like him, so I think that's pretty much like out of the question. Kimmich is an interesting one. I really rate him. I like him a lot. Um, is he out of our reach? If we don't win something major, potentially out of our reach. But how good would a midfield of Rice, Kimmich, and Odegaard be? Whew, it would be it would be so good. It would be so good. Let me just think about it. So good. So yeah, I would love for us to go big in that position, but Rabiot is not big in that position. Okay. And he has so much shit going on. John P makes a really interesting point that Patino is doing really well on loan. Patino, to me, is what you want in a left center mid. He's creative, but he also is winning his duels and he's getting stuck in and he's more box to box. And, he plays more like he's not necessarily so like off the ball player. Like he's very much so involved in everything that's going on. He's a high touch player. And I think there's space for Patino next season. I would love to see him integrated in. I would like to see maybe some of our older midfielders moved out. Maybe one of Thomas Partey or Jorginho and El Neni out. That opens up space for Patino. And there's no reason to not have him in the team. Like there should be space for him. But he is doing really well. So let's see how he, progresses throughout the season. Arsenal Adventure says Rice, Kimmich, Odie will run the midfield. The ball won't come to the defenders. Also, imagine if it gets through the midfield, we have Saliba. And if we bought Diamande there. So I'm just dreaming a little bit. Kimmich may just be completely out of the question. Probably is. But, Rabiot has been linked as well as let's talk about Phillips. Kalvin Phillips has been linked to us, which is very strange. Arsenal returned to Manchester City Kalvin Phillips in January as the Gunners will look to strengthen their midfield. The only way I see that happening is if we know for sure one of Partey or Jorginho is leaving. But I still am like, why would we get Kalvin Phillips? He has shown himself not to be trusted under Pep. And I know that we brought Zinchenko and Jesus, but they're on a technical level that brought us up. I don't know if Kalvin Phillips is somebody that I would want at Arsenal. Like he stinks. I know he was good under Bielsa, but he's just kind of like insanely average and like I don't get it. I think Kalvin Phillips is also like not older, but like he doesn't even have the opportunity to get any better. Like he's 27. So he's sitting around on Manchester City's bench. And he's English. I get that. And I know Arteta loves an English player, but like I'm not trying to turn our team into fucking Gareth Southgate Brexit ball. Like that's just not it for me. It's a no for me. Really and truly. And like, what is this? Like, what is this? I'd rather have Jorginho. I'd rather have Jorginho. Like, and Jorginho is not my like 100% my thing, but like I would not trade Jorginho for Kalvin Phillips. That's how little I rate Kalvin Phillips. I didn't even really like him that much at Leeds. And I hated the ponytail bun thing. So it's not for me. It's a no. Yeah. So there. Boy says, is that Kalvin Phillips being linked? Yeah. Don one says, plus Philip is overweight. Yeah, we don't need any overweight bun wearers on our team. Johnny D says, don't say people stink through the monitor. That's beyond rude. Sorry. Steve Walder says, never rated 1 millimeter of that guy. So average. Arsenal Adventure says, DM is Gabriel Mascarado. What a killer name that is. Like, you cannot be a bum with a last name like Mascarado. Backup for Rice and left center mid. We need Patino next season. Patino can do left center mid. He is that good. we have been linked to Mascherano. I just feel like he's at Corinthians. Edu used to work there. He's supposed to be the Brazilian Don, you know. I expect us to be front of the line, you know, if he doesn't go to Real Madrid or Barcelona, because you can't stop anybody from going to those two teams, but they don't go there. The first stop should be Arsenal. The fact that Chelsea are pipping us to so many Brazilian wonder kids is actually disgusting. So yeah, I would like that kid. I would like that kid. But yeah, no Phillips, but Ollie Watkins has been linked as well. And Ollie Watkins has been linked to us quite a bit. So, and this is going to sound weird, but I think he's an Arteta player. I do. From a center forward perspective. When he was first linked to us, I was sitting there like, if you guys have been on the channel for a while, you guys know I've had some howlers. I think my favorite howler that I had was, is Ben White even that much better than Rob Holding? That's one of my favorites. I wish I need to find the tape and like put it out there because that was so hilarious. So funny. Um, I think I also was like, is Ollie Watkins even better than Nketiah? I think I said that too. And he is much better than Nketiah. But he's like what Nketiah would be if Nketiah was like clinical and like very good. He is a better Nketiah. Like he is, but like he takes all of the best qualities of Nketiah and times them by 10. He runs in behind, he presses, he, you know, arrives in the box. He's just a center forward that scores goals. Like he's not necessarily amazing at link up, but he's a really good outlet. And he's just, to me, a much better version of Nketiah. And I can understand why we're linked with him, especially if we want somebody in January, because we're going to want somebody that's probably English, um, and attainable and, you know, whatever. And so Ollie Watkins is being linked. Is he my first choice? Hell no. He's not even top 5. But is he better than Nketiah? Yes. The question would be for me is like, I'm looking at Nketiah and Jesus together and I'm like, so like, how do we get to the next level? You know, how do we explode, you know, from here? Because we're already very, very good. How do we get to like elite status? You're not gonna be elite with Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah, and you're not gonna be elite with Ollie Watkins and Jesus either. So, as good as Ollie Watkins is, and as I think as badly as I disrespected him a couple of years ago, I get he's a gooner and he would probably pack his shit, you know, the moment that the deal was done and run over to London and be like happy as a clam. I don't want him because he's not gonna take us to the next level. And I just wonder about D blocks as well. Like he plays an Aston Villa side that just is consistently playing on the counterattack, and he's very good at it. So Ollie Watkins, like there are players that, you know, two things can be true, that a player is better than what we have currently, but doesn't necessarily make us better or take us to the next level. And Ollie Watkins definitely fits in that category. And I think some people also feel like Tony probably fits in that category. So, but Arsenal are in a position, I think, in January where they are going to need to, you know, go into the market and bring in an attacker. You know, we're also linked with Pedro Neto. I think we are in a space to bring in an attacker that's going to make us a little bit more robust going forward. We're not quite there yet. We're a little bit still underbaked in the attack. It's just a matter of, you know, what is the opportunity cost of bringing in a player like a Watkins or a Tony, you know, because you are going to miss out on better strikers that come through. Like people are obsessed with Ferguson and Osimhen. You are out of those conversations if you bring in Tony or Watkins. But what is the opportunity cost and how much better do these players actually make us? Some of them do make our floor, lift our floor, but they definitely don't lift our ceiling. And so it's a difficult situation that I think Arsenal are in. I think it was probably a better opportunity to go into the summer window and try to buy a striker. Going in January, I think your options are a lot more limited. And, you know, we'll see how Arsenal deal with it. But yeah, Watkins, Tony. I do think Tony is better than Watkins. He has a little bit more he has a little bit more to him. He's a more well-rounded footballer. But I can understand why people are not that excited about either one of those links because neither one necessarily scream superstar, you know, if that makes sense. Keenan says, if it's Watkins, Tony, or nobody in January, I would take Watkins. I like that. Phillips says, we don't need an 8. That's why we sold Xhaka and bought Havertz. Arteta has rightfully put trust in Vieira and Smith Rowe. I think we will replace Partey in the summer and buy a top winger or striker. Unknown says, this is how I know Arteta is a yes man. How could you keep Nketiah and sell Balogun? How can you get Havertz and terminate Pepe's contract? Why isn't ESR playing ahead of Havertz? The reason why ESR is not playing ahead of Havertz is, one, he's not fully fit. So, we can see that against Brentford, he couldn't play a full 90. And also out of possession, Arsenal are very focused on being a good out of possession team. And Havertz and Rice are better out of possession. They allow us to not get caught out as much as other players do. ESR has not downloaded his defensive package yet. Like, he's just somebody that he's really good going forward, but out of possession, we need to be sturdy. We need to be able to lock teams out. I think that's a big reason why ESR doesn't start over Havertz. And you may not love Havertz, but ESR is not quite the answer at this stage either. In terms of terminating Pepe, Pepe is shit and he was not good enough. And I don't understand what the comparison is of Pepe and Havertz. Pepe was given a lot of chances under multiple managers. So this idea that Havertz is getting all this time and Pepe did not. Pepe had chances. He just didn't take them well enough. He was only shut out of the team after Mikel's first season. So I don't understand the Pepe comparison, whatsoever. And Balogun didn't want to fight for his spot. So if you're upset about Balogun, why don't you message him and say, why didn't you want to fight for your spot? Had he had wanted to fight for his spot, he would still be at Arsenal. So, it wasn't a matter of get rid of Nketiah or keep Balogun. Balogun didn't want to stay. He ran from the grind. He ran from the grind. Like, it is what it is. So yeah, Johnny D says Tony won every head duel with Saliba last season in a game. That signed me up for Tony fanless, and he's a gambler like me. Hey, you know, we all love players for certain reasons, and if those are the reasons why you love Tony, then fair enough. I just think what I love about Tony is the penalties, the dead balls, the connection with Raya, and him being like a physical presence. And I was talking to my friends about this, that there are goals that Tony scored. Like, some of his goals are not fancy, right? They're like tap-ins. But if you watch them and then you watch our games, how many easy goals do we not do pass us by? The goal mouth scramble, the headed ball into the back of the net, the just getting on the ends of simple cutbacks. We don't really get those. Like, all of our goals are very difficult because we don't have anybody clinical that has a nose for where the ball is going to be. And that's kind of where I'm at with the strikers, is that we kind of need somebody that's just going to score the easy goals. And right now we don't necessarily have that. So yeah, Keenan says Havertz is actually solid in defense and has been playing better every game. I think a few games we'll see him fully kick on. That pen will boost his confidence. Fair enough. But yeah, those are my thoughts on kind of like those links. And in regards to Pedro Neto, I think he is the guy. I like Kubo as well. So I think there's multiple options. But in terms of like a really good right wing that could really take us to having 4 solid winger options, whether it's Kubo or Pedro Neto, I think Pedro Neto just edges it slightly over Kubo because we've seen him in our league and he's an Arsenal fan. But that's not something that's going to get done in January. Wolves are going to struggle massively this season. They have no goal threat, and he's pretty much their only goal scorer or creator. So we're not getting him in January. So if we're going to get him, it's going to be in the summer. I think it will happen, but it'll happen in the summer. So what Arsenal will probably focus on is a striker. And so that could end up being Tony. Tony is going to start training soon, or he may have already started, but he's back in training now. So by the time January rolls around, he'll be ready for a move. And so we'll see if it's us or Chelsea or someone else. There's other teams involved as well. But you guys, what a great show. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. I know some of you guys are dipping off to go watch, the Chelsea game. But make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out. I really enjoyed speaking to you guys. Again, we're going to do the watch along and the player ratings for the launch game. So there'll be more content. But if you guys want to be a patron, the link is in the description. That's how you'll see the post-match podcast and rewatch with Laura. And I'm working on our next set of guests. Hopefully I can bring on some big guests for you guys, especially like on the Patreon side, and also here. But there's also like a clip from the show that me and Laura did. And we talk about Raya versus Ramsdale. So that's up on the channel. If you guys, can't be a patron, but you want to see what the vibe was, you guys can see it there. But I've super enjoyed talking to you guys. You guys are amazing. You guys make my day. Like the video and subscribe to the channel on your way out. And let's go Fulham. Let's do it. Bye, guys. Love y'all.